Welcome to this video. My name is Christian from Beyond Premiere, and today we're diving deep in what many consider the best movie ever made, Shawshank Redemption. Directed by Frank and released in 1994, this prison drama didn't exactly set the box office on fire, but went on to become a beloved classic. Based on Stephen King novella, this movie tells the story of a banker named Andy, played by Tim Robbins, who is sentenced to life at the fictional Shawshank Redemption State Penitentiary for killing his wife and her lover. Andy is unable to overturn the guilty verdict and resigns himself to doing hard time. Behind bars, he meets Red, played by Freeman, a contraband smuggler who knows how to get things. The two form an unlikely bond and friendship. Over nearly 2 decades, Andy maintains hope and eventually gains the trust of both the warden and guards by putting his banking skill to use, helping them amass personal fortunes through money laundering schemes. All the while, he slowly and secretly chips away at his cell wall, planning for an eventual escape. Beyond just a surface level plot, the movie examines deep themes of hope, justice, redemption, and the resilience of the human spirit. The excellent script is loaded with meaningful symbolism and memorable, quotable lines. In this video, we're going to go ahead and analyze some of the key details, symbolism, and powerful message that make the Shawshank Redemption an all-time classic. I will unpack the major plot points, talk about the ending, and explain why this movie connects so strongly with audience. Before the production of the film or the movie itself, the Big Shot Studios label it a downer, but Castle Rock Entertainment decided to make a gamble, creating this movie for a cool $25 million. Our leading men, Tim Robbins and Freeman, filmed their scenes in chronological order. This helped them grow their friendship in real time, bringing in an extra spark to their on-screen friendship.
I hope to see my friend and shake his hand.
Okay, so the film opens in 1947, introducing Andy, a young vice president of a bank who is accused and convicted of murdering his wife and her lover. Despite his claims of innocence, he is given 2 life sentences at the fictional prison in Maine. At Shawshank, Andy meets Ellis Red Redding, a lifer who is able to smuggle in contraband to prisoners. Red maintains that everyone at Shawshank is innocent, but admits he's actually guilty of the murder that sent him there. Andy and Red strike up an unlikely friendship throughout the film, and Andy struggles to adjust to prison life. He suffers abuse at the hands of a gang called the Sisters. Despite the dangers and harsh conditions, Andy maintains hope. It's the motif throughout the movie, and that is hope. His skills as a banker are used to help the officials in the prison. Meanwhile, Andy makes progress, secretly tunneling out of his cell using a rock hammer over many years. Andy's intelligence, determination, and patience have a transformative effect on many aspects of Shawshank. He greatly expands the prison library and helps inmates earn degrees. Andy maintains dignity and despite his environment. After helping his friend Tommy get his GED, Andy reveals his hope that Tommy's testimony can help him. When the warden realized that Tommy could jeopardize his money laundering operation, he has him killed. Andy finally made his escape by tunneling through the walls and breaking into the sewage pipe. He leaves evidence of the corruption and money laundering behind for authorities. Andy withdraws cash he hid under a false identity and flees from justice, hoping to reunite with Red in Mexico. The warden decides to end his life once the corruption is exposed, and Andy's friend Red is finally granted parole after decades in prison. Red violates parole and travels to the Texas border and fulfills his promise to reunite with Andy. The two friends find hope and freedom together. The film has a major theme, and that is the importance of hope in unexpected circumstances. Andy never gave up his belief that he can be free again despite his long sentence. He holds on to a vision of a better future. His tunneling project requires tremendous patience. It's through the characters we get different perspective on the life in prison. Andy's character arc is deeply layered and transformative journey from guilt and imprisonment to freedom and redemption. In the beginning of the film, Andy is shown as a man devastated by his wife's infidelity, drinking heavily and contemplating violent revenge. Although he maintains that he did not kill her, and we know that he didn't, his subsequent conviction and life sentence could be seen metaphorically as his punishment, not just for a crime he didn't commit, but for his guilt and his own feelings of anger. Over time in Shawshank, Andy begins to change. Even though he's physically confined, he seeks and craves moments of freedom for himself and others. The roof scene where he bargains for beer for his fellow inmates is a prime example. He negotiates a deal with the guard, resulting in a brief shared experience of freedom and friendship for the prisoners on the roof that day. Despite not drinking a beer, Andy feels in the joy of his fellow inmates. This scene is a turning point, marking Andy's shift from a passive prisoner to a man who can envision and enact change within his circumstances. As Andy says, "I gave up drinking," indicating his transformation from the man we see at the beginning of the film. And now, it symbolizes his distance from his past self, the one who was drunk, angry, and on a destructive path. His ultimate freedom comes with his daring escape from Shawshank. But by this time, Andy has already freed himself internally. He has let go of his past, kept hope alive, and transformed not just his own life, but also the lives of those around him. I believe that throughout the film, we see him where his test and loyalty for freedom and hope was tested in multiple occasions. However, we get to see how he always held into this belief of hope and freedom. The way that he transformed the life of others can be seen on the unlikely friendship between Andy and Red. This is central to the story, and their bond transcends prison walls and gives both men strength. And Red got items for Andy like the rock hammer and the poster despite the danger. Their loyalty demonstrated how humanity can thrive even in inhumane conditions. The film also explored different forms of imprisonment and freedom. The prisoners are obviously not free physically, controlled by guards and prison walls, but Andy maintains spiritual freedom through hope and human connection. Their friendship is something that I love about this film. It's throughout the film where we get quotes like "get busy living" or "get busy dying." After so many years in prison, Red is convinced he can never adapt to life outside and considers ending it all. Andy encouraged him to open his mind to the possibilities of freedom instead of just giving up. The quote inspires hope. Another quote that is my favorite is, "Fear can hold you prisoner, hope can set you free." This is the power of how fear can paralyze people, keeping them confined mentally, even if they're not behind bars. Meanwhile, hope provides the key to breaking free, both literally and figuratively. Another one of my favorite quotes is, "Salvation lies within." This quote means that people have the power to save themselves, regardless of their circumstances. Andy never relies on outside forces for his redemption. His salvation resides in the strength of his own spirit. But let's just go ahead and discuss some of the plot threads and some of the things that happen in the film where I have to discuss. In the first conversation between Red and Andy when we first meet them and where they first meet each other, Andy do not discuss escape plans. Of course, Andy approached Red because he heard that Red is the man who can get things. He asked Red to get a rock hammer for him, claiming that his hobby is rock shaping and carving. Red is initially skeptical about Andy's intentions and wonders if Andy will use it to escape or hurt anyone. However, after seeing the small size of the hammer, Red says the idea as he believes it will take 600 years to tunnel through the prison walls. However, it was not 600 years, and as we know, it was 20. Of him working on the chess pieces also showed the patience Andy had. Andy also do not reveal his escape plan to Red or anyone else, which adds intriguing element to the film as he worked on it secretly for 19 years without anyone noticing. His calm demeanor and quiet determination mask his underlying intent, making his eventual escape even more surprising and impactful as we get to believe that he was about to kill himself. Throughout the film, we see the sisters, who are a group of prisoners in the Shawshank, led by Bugs Diamond, who targets other inmates for, activities. Their interactions with Andy are brutal and form a significant part of his early years in prison. From the moment Andy arrives in the prison, he becomes a target for the sisters. Despite his attempts to resist and stay out of their way, he is repeatedly assaulted, and this attacks contribute to the harsh reality of prison life that the movie doesn't shy away from portraying. The assistance of the sisters and the repeated assaults on Andy serve to emphasize the brutal and dehumanizing aspect of prison life. This is a no fairy tale world. It is a place where survival is a daily struggle and where power dynamics are often enforced through violence and intimidation. However, it's also during these challenging times that Andy's resilience starts to show. He refused to give up to the sisters, as well as eventually leading the warden to offering him protection from the sisters. These experiences with his sister play a part in Andy's journey and his transformation throughout the film. They provide a stark contrast to the hope, friendship, and sense of purpose he later finds in Shawshank. I can watch the movie so many times, but one of the things that make me cry every time, and does Brooks, This is one of the things that talk about freedom and hope, and this comes in the character played by James Whitmore in the film. He's an older inmate at Shawshank who acts as a prison librarian. He's a vital character as his narrative provides a profound commentary on the effects of long-term incarceration and the struggle to reintegrate into society after being in prison. He's in charge of the prison library and takes under his wing a young crow. When he discussed after he's outside and he discussed about Jake, that was so sad and it makes me cry every time. Jake becomes for him a symbol of hope and companionship in the grim environment of the Shawshank. He nurtures the bird, feeding it and carrying the fur until it's too strong enough to fly. I imagine that it was years where he had this crow and caring for it until it's strong enough to fly and live on his own. After serving 50 years in Shawshank, Brooks is released and he finds the outside world vastly different from what he remembers and the struggle to adapt to this new fast-paced society. The scenes depicting his life after release are both sad and heartbreaking. He lands a job bagging groceries, but is often overwhelmed by the pace and noise of the modern world. He lives alone in a halfway house and experiences a profound sense of isolation and dislocation. The world has moved on and Brooks feels he's no longer where he belongs, and that was on prison. In one of the film's most moving scenes, Brooks was here into the wooden beam in his room before tragically taking his own life. His story is a stark depiction of the harsh reality faced by many long-term convicts upon release. Brooks finding life inside prison more comfortable and predictable than the uncertainty of the outside world. His inability to adjust to life outside prison underscores the film's exploration of hope, freedom, and redemption. Now, I love a lot of things about the film, and there's a lot of meaning and symbolism. One of my favorite things of the film is a different motif like the Bible. The Bible represents faith and redemption, and Andy finds salvation to his undying hope as he's held by his Bible, which contains his rock hammer. The Bible also symbolizes Andy's own redemption from sin through good works, like expanding the library. One of my favorite parts of the movie is when Andy puts the music and everyone can hear it in the prison. This is one of the scenes where it's filled with freedom and hope for every inmate in the prison, and that's one of my favorite scenes in the film. The film has so many favorite scenes, but this one has to be in the top 5. It's such a beautiful representation of the things that we take for granted in society and in real life, and it also reminds me why we love music and why it's so important for art to be explored. Near the end, we learn that Andy is innocent all along. His friend Tommy reveals another prisoner bragging about killing the golfer and his ex-wife, and this allows Andy to be free. However, as we get to know, the warden decides not to help him because the moment he's outside, he can say something about what's the warden doing. But Andy managed to escape through the tunnel, and this was so awesome because we think the opposite. The inmates think the opposite, and there's a state of worry about what Andy's gonna do. And the moment that he doesn't come out of his cell and Red is so worried about this is where we get what happened. And it was perfect writing as well as editing to show what happened during those moments before his escape. At first, also Red throughout these things that he cannot handle life outside prison, but Andy's lessons push him to hope. He violates his parole to cross the border and join Andy, and displaying the loyalty and friendship that the characters grew through 19 years. And that's a beautiful way to ending the film, and the ending provides an emotional payoff after following Andy's growth and and hope. It highlights his resilience in the face of injustice, always maintaining hope in dire circumstances, and the value of friendship. The open-ended nature offers a feeling of freedom, possibility, and redemption for the viewers as we get to see how the movie ends. The film is more than just a film about prison life. At its core, it's a story about hope, resilience, friendship, and redemption. The film portrays the human spirit to retain dignity and hope in the dark circumstances and events. It highlights the significance of friendship and loyalty, as seen in the deep bond between Andy and Red. And something that I just love about this film is how it ends, in front of the ocean as a way to represent the freedom that they both have. Especially the brilliant performance by Tim and Morgan showcase how incredible both actors are. And I wish in my times studying filmmaking and movies that there has never been a movie like this before, and I really hope, obviously there's other movies, but The story that these characters have created and the actors and the director and writer is something that I love, and that's one of the reasons that I'm doing this breakdown, to pay your writers, because without writers there would not be movies like this. Its legacy and impact on cinema and storytelling make it one of the greatest films ever made. My name is Christian from VM Premiere, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.